Education is a human value. That to me is a moral responsibility we have as human beings one to another. I want my children to be as well or better educated than I. I want their children to be as well or better educated than I. That has to be the spirit of North Carolina. This state has grown up on its educational foundation. Way back when it was said that Governor Aycock built a school a day across North Carolina. And then came the other governors, Governor Scott, Governor Hodges, Governor Sanford, Governor Hunt. All of our governors have taken a firm stand for education.
Sometimes people, well, what are you about when you're a Democrat? You're for education. You're for children. You're for building the workforce in North Carolina, helping us have good jobs and a great future. Now that's a worthy goal. That's a good Democratic goal.
At the turn of the 20th century, North Carolina was a state in transition as people moved from farms to factory towns looking to participate in the progress that was lifting some communities out of the poverty of the agrarian South. It was just as common to find families trapped outside the promise of that transition. The middle class was still a sleeping giant. Child labor was widespread. Education was a luxury. The people of North Carolina needed a miracle, and through a remarkable series of reforms achieved across generations of men and women, black and white, who believed that all of our people should have the opportunity to go to school, they got it.
We had to transform ourselves. There had to be this transformational investment in our people and in our future.
During that time, the leadership convinced the citizens that education is an investment.
During the Great Depression, there was one state in the United States that kept its public schools open. It said it's too important. We have to do that even in tough times. That state was North Carolina.
We have made more progress in education than practically any state in the Union. And to make that progress, we needed dedicated teachers and educators, but we also needed the commitment from the General Assembly to invest in public education.
The Constitution of North Carolina says education is a responsibility of the state. The equal right of every child to burgeon everything within him, Governor Aycock said.
No Democratic governor in North Carolina's history has ever forgotten that commitment made in our Constitution that promises kids the right to an education.
Education is the most important issue in the world in public affairs.
The goal of public education is to extract the very best from every child who dons our doors. That's the goal.
All of us should think about our own personal experiences. What inspired us? How did we get to where we are?
My dad was not able to get an education because he was the oldest of 8 children.
My mother and father both were born in the 1890s. There were practically no public schools.
If it had not been for public education, I would have never had the opportunities that I've had during my adulthood.
My family was instrumental in the desegregation of the public school system. My 2 eldest sisters were the first to integrate public schools in Durham, North Carolina.
And so public schools are really what we've made them.
I think what's being done at this point is very devastating. They do not appreciate the traditional role of our public school system.
It seems like there's a 100-day mission. Sometimes I even think it's a 30-day mission to wreak as much havoc on the state as we can.
We're having people propose legislation who don't have the faintest idea of the impact, and that's bad. That's bad public policy.
The first thing they've done is come in and try to say, how do we cut it? And cutting education would be a fundamental mistake. Education has made North Carolina preeminent. It's the one thing that's led to our being able to establish the quality of life that we offer here. It's what brought business here. It's what's brought jobs here.
We should not lose sight of our future. We should not lose sight of those investments that make a difference for the future, that give our students opportunity. And we must be very, very careful in what we do now and make sure we don't damage that future unduly at all during this tough time.
Now people are starting talking about cutting teacher pay, cutting teachers out. We must not do it. We have got to stand behind our teachers, appreciate our teachers, and help them in every way that we can.
We talk about a national deficit, but I would tell you that the lack of education can be more devastating than that debt is.
We can't have a nation of haves and have-nots. We're all in this together. That's important.
I don't understand how people who are making decisions, how the Republicans are thinking, because those are some of their constituents who are being impacted. It's not just Democrats, it's people in North Carolina. It's their children.
They ought to be able to see that education of children is the most productive economic thing that could be done by any legislative body.
We have to educate every child in our state. And if we don't educate every child, then we're going to suffer.
And so I think the public needs to understand that this is serious business that's going on in Raleigh right now.
We cannot let them slash and burn and really drastically hurt education in North Carolina. We can't let it happen.
The attack is at every door. I mean, at this point in time, they're attacking the budgets when it comes to public education. They're not making commitments to our school teachers. They're not making commitments to those who are assistants in the classroom. They're not doing anything to help that education system continue to thrive. They're chopping away at the budgets.
That means that programs are going to be decreased. Classrooms will have more children.
You create second-class citizens.
There's a reason why Democrats have governed this state and governed it responsibly for 100 years. The people do not want this.
Many folks have now said, we wish we hadn't voted the way we did.
We're going to see how badly they do not want this when they reject the Republicans in this next election cycle.
The reality will really be there at their front door, and their children and their lives are going to be impacted.
And we've got to support our governor.
She is our partner and our ally. She is our ace in the hole.
When she says she's not going to let these things happen, and when she, at the end of the day, has to veto a bill,
we have the numbers to sustain her veto. And rest assured that Democrats, we are staying together. We are really fortunate to have Governor Perdue standing up for us, making tough decisions, and she doesn't back down.
Let's let this be the time when we stand up and fight and win.